A person's true greatness is shaped by the way they think. This timeless principle has been proven again and again through the lives of extraordinary individuals such as Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and Jeff Bezos. Each of them began with ideas that others doubted, yet they trusted their vision and mindset. Napoleon Hill, in his legendary book Think and Grow Rich, expressed this truth perfectly when he said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." If thoughts truly have such power, then a question naturally arises. Why do so many people struggle to succeed? Do they fail to think about their future? Do they overlook their own potential? Or do they unknowingly limit themselves with the way they see who they are? Today's story will answer these questions. Along the way, it will teach you a powerful life lesson, one that can completely change how you view success, value, and self-worth. You'll also learn new English vocabulary and expressions, so stay with us until the very end. I promise your time will be well spent. Once, in a crowded railway station filled with constant noise, rushing footsteps, and loud announcements, there lived a beggar. Every day, he sat on the platform, holding out his hand to passengers, waiting for their trains. His survival depended entirely on the spare change people dropped into his palm. This routine had been his life for many years. One afternoon, as he was asking for alms, his eyes fell upon a man stepping onto the platform. The man wore a sharp, elegant suit, walked confidently, and carried himself with authority. Everything about him suggested wealth and success. The beggar immediately thought to himself, "This man must be rich. If I ask him for money, he will surely give me a generous amount." Filled with hope, the beggar approached the businessman and stretched out his hand. But instead of reaching for his wallet, the businessman stopped and looked directly at the beggar. Then, to the beggar's surprise, he asked a question no one had ever asked him before. "Do you always take from others? Have you ever given anything to anyone in your life?" The beggar was shocked. He had expected money, not a question. Confused and slightly embarrassed, he replied, "Sir, I am only a beggar. I survive by asking for alms. I have nothing to give to anyone." The businessman smiled gently and said something that would change the beggar's life forever. "If you truly believe you have nothing to give, then you also have no right to ask for anything. I am a businessman and I believe in exchange. If you can offer me something, I can offer you something in return. But if you have nothing to give, I cannot give you anything either." With those words, the businessman boarded his train and disappeared into the crowd. The beggar stood frozen on the platform. He replayed the conversation again and again in his mind. "I have been begging for years," he thought. "No one has ever spoken to me like this before." The businessman hadn't insulted him. He hadn't shown anger or disrespect. He had simply spoken the truth. For the first time, the beggar began to question his own life. If I give nothing, he wondered, why should people give me anything? At that night, he couldn't sleep. The words echoed endlessly in his mind. If you want to receive, you must first give. 2 days passed, and something unusual happened. The beggar did not ask anyone for money. Instead, he sat quietly, lost in deep thought. His mind was searching for answers. "What can I possibly give?" he asked himself. "I am just a beggar. I own nothing." On the third day, as he sat near the tracks, he noticed something he had never paid attention to before. A small patch of wildflowers was blooming beside the railway line. Their bright colors stood out beautifully against the dull surroundings of concrete and steel. Suddenly, an idea struck him. What if, he thought, instead of only taking, I offer something in return? What if I give people a flower whenever they give me money? For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose. Determined to try, he gently picked a handful of flowers and returned to his usual spot. When someone dropped a coin into his hand, he smiled and offered them a flower in return. To his surprise, people accepted the flowers happily. Some smiled, others thanked him warmly. A few even stopped to talk. As the days passed, something remarkable happened. More and more people began giving him money, and he noticed an important pattern. Whenever he had flowers to offer, people gave generously. But when he ran out of flowers, the donations decreased. Now he understood. People enjoyed receiving something in exchange. One afternoon, while giving flowers to passengers, he spotted a familiar face sitting inside a train. It was the businessman. Excited, the beggar rushed toward him and said, "Today I have something to give you. If you give me money, I will give you flowers in return." The businessman smiled, handed him some cash, and accepted the flowers. "You have understood the true value of exchange," the businessman said. "Today, you are no longer just a beggar. You have become a businessman." The train moved on, leaving the beggar standing there, this time not confused but inspired. His words sparked a new realization. Am I really a businessman? He asked himself. He thought deeply and then suddenly understood the truth. I have discovered the secret of success, he realized. I am not begging anymore. I am trading. People are not giving me money out of pity. They are paying for the value I provide. With excitement and confidence, he made a bold decision that very day. He left the railway station, and he never returned as a beggar again. 6 months later, at the same railway station, two well-dressed men crossed paths. They shook hands politely, but one of them looked puzzled. Do I know you? He asked. The other man smiled and replied, Yes. We have met twice before, right here at this station. The first man frowned, trying to remember. Suddenly, his eyes widened. Wait, you're the beggar, he exclaimed. The one I refused to give money to and later bought flowers from. The man laughed warmly. Yes, that was me, but today I am no longer a beggar. I run a successful flower business, and I'm traveling to expand it. The businessman was amazed. That's incredible. What changed your life? The flower seller smiled and said, You taught me one of life's greatest truths. We only receive when we first give. That day, I realized I was never truly a beggar. I was a businessman all along. I just needed to see myself that way. The two men shook hands again, this time as equals, and boarded their trains, heading toward their futures. Life is shaped by how we see ourselves. If you believe you are weak, you will remain weak. If you believe you are small, you will stay small. But when you recognize your inner value, your potential, and your ability to give something meaningful to the world, everything changes. Change your thoughts, and your future will change with them.